my first duty, my most pleasant duty on all your behalf, and on this great anniversary, is to start by paying tribute to the man whose idea was 20 years ago to help refugees in Bosnia and orphans in Romania, whose dream it was seeing poverty in Africa to feed the hungry of that continent, and who 10 years ago started Mary's Meals, and who has now created Mary's Meals into a global organisation that is known and respected not just in this continent, but in every continent of the world. I want to pay tribute, as I know you do, to Magnus for everything that he has achieved over these 10 years. Day this is, to have Martin, a wonderful singer, singing before me, and to have the great St. Angela's Choir from Dalmira. I believe I was hearing this afternoon next year's winners of Britain Got Talent and next year's winners of the X Factor. Wonderful. When I told my children that I was coming here today and ventured to tell them that I was speaking in introducing a film premiere of an Oscar-nominated film, they were pretty surprised. They thought that someone far younger, someone far more glamorous, some greater celebrity should be doing it. But Child 31 is not an ordinary film. And this is not an occasion where we bring the celebrity stars of screen and stage onto this stage. Because the real stars, the real celebrities, are you, the audience. It is what you have achieved over these last 10 years. Pupils, students, schools, churches, faith groups, Rotary groups, what you have achieved in transforming the world that we want to pay tribute to today. You know, if only one child in one of the countries of Africa was receiving a school meal today because of what you had been able to do, you would have been and should have been proud of that. But the fact that 700,000 young children are going to school and receiving a meal thanks to the efforts of people in this hall and around the country is a tremendous achievement, and all of you should be proud of the great success of Mary's Meals over 10 years. You know I'm not very good at figures. I asked Magnus before I came onto the stage. I said, if 700,000 young children are receiving meals as a result of what you're doing today, and if you've built up that over the last 10 years, then how many meals in total has this organisation, through the efforts of all of you around the country, been able to do? And it's not my calculation, it's better people than me who have made this calculation. 70 million meals over 10 years. What a tremendous achievement. You should all be incredible. You know what brought me, first of all, to the need to help any child in difficulty? Think back to Bosnia, and then think back to Rwanda in the 1990s. And if you go to Rwanda, and if you visit there, the Children's Museum in Rwanda, and if you go around the exhibits there, you will come to the picture of a young boy whose name is David. And you will be given only a few facts about this young boy's life. There are facts in this museum, and you can look on the website now and see this for yourself. And I saw these facts. David, it said, age 12. Favourite sport, football. Ambition, to be a doctor. Favourite pastime, making people laugh. Just like every child, football, making people laugh, wanting to be something when he grew up. And then the two next sentences. Death by mutilation. Last words. The United Nations are coming to help us. And these last words were given to his mother, who also died in the genocide. And in his innocence and in his idealism, that young boy David believed that we, the international community, would come to help him and his mother in the time of need. And that we did not do so was a shame on the whole of the world. And I vowed then, when I saw these facts, as I think anybody who saw this would do, that I would do anything that I could in my power to help any child in difficulty in the future. And I went to Sudan a few months ago, and I went to meet a number of women in a small village in Sudan. And I was talking to them about what they wanted to achieve. And there were young girls who had been married at the age of 12. All of them were teenage mothers. Many of them were illiterate. And what they wanted most of all was that their children could go to school. And then I went up to the local school, a small hut in this small village, and there were 20 young children in this school, and they were being educated by 2 dedicated teachers, and they had school books that were not very good, but were books that they were able to learn. And there was a small window on that small hut that could educate only 20 children. And you know what I saw, which I would never forget? I saw dozens of children, scores of children outside that hut, looking inside that small window, peering in at something they could not have, the education that they were being denied, the school opportunity that should have been their right, the opportunity that we know every single child, girl or boy in the world should have, the opportunity to go to school and the opportunity to be fed. And what is amazing about Mary's Meals is that you provide food where there is no food. When you go to the communities where you're doing it, you provide because the food has got to be produced by people there. Work where there is no work. You provide a marketplace for agricultural produce where there is no marketplace for agricultural produce. And then you provide hope where there is no hope. I went to Nigeria, and I was in Abuja, which is the capital of Nigeria. We went just outside the capital. I arrived at a school. It was a broken down, dilapidated school where there were kids 3 to a desk, barely getting the basics of their education. And I was going into the classroom to speak to this group of school kids, and suddenly there was a noise outside, and a whole fleet of cars drove up, and there was Bono, the pop singer. And there I had arrived at a classroom, and quite unbeknown to me, he was there, of course, with big television crews following him, and they all came into the class. You know what Bono says? If he's speaking to an audience like this, as I do, he says, "Excuse me if I'm nervous." He says, "I don't usually perform in front of less than 100,000 people." And so we went into this classroom, and we asked all the kids, "What do you want to be?" You know, the usual question. And Bono and I were sort of going around and saying, one wanted to be a doctor, another to be a teacher, another obviously to be a scientist, an architect. Many wanted to be airline pilots, a favourite subject. Of course, nobody wanted to be a politician. To Bono's surprise, nobody said they wanted to be a pop singer either. But you know, these children were being educated in the most dilapidated of surroundings. And they were being educated without the chance of getting a daily meal. I have, in the last few weeks, had to deal with the fallout from what's happened in Pakistan, where there's a young girl that you will have heard of called Malala, and she's 14 years old, and she wanted to go to school. And simply because she wanted to go to school, the Taliban shot her and attempted to assassinate her. And she has now been flown to Birmingham, and I visited her father in Birmingham this week to talk to him about it. But here is a girl who just wanted to go to school, and she is now a worldwide symbol. As long as the 61 million girls and boys are not at school, then she will always be a symbol for the need for us to help people to go to school. And I believe over the next 3.5 years, by working together with Mary's Meals and many charities combining together, the 61 million children who today cannot go to school because there is no school to go to, and who are being denied the chance of education and a basic human right that we all take for granted, as the lovely singing of the choir of St. Angela's told us. I believe in these next 3.5 years, if we work together, we can get every child to go to school. Much of your work is done in Malawi and in countries in that region of Africa. And I visited that region, and you know, there are 17 million orphans in that area. Orphans mainly from AIDS as a result of the devastation of that epidemic. And I went to one small community, and just outside the town The orphan girls and boys were brought together every week in a field by a charity that was trying to provide them with some support when they were orphan children. And I met one young girl whose name and who I will never forget. And her name was Miriam, and her age was around 12. And she had lost her father to AIDS, and then she lost her mother to AIDS. And she was probably HIV infected, I was told. They thought she might have tuberculosis as well. And I was talking to this girl, and it was being translated, and I could see one thing that just shocked me. At the age of 12, every child should be looking forward to the future, the prospects all ahead of them. They should be thinking of the great things that they can do as young people. And I looked into her eyes, and there was no hope in her eyes. Her eyes were almost dead. And I thought, we've got to do something to help girls like Miriam. And thanks to what Mary's Meals is doing, and thanks to what charities working with Mary's Meals are doing, I know that Miriam and girls like that have got a better hope for the future. So today you're going to see a great film, Child 31. I can tell you because I have had the privilege of seeing it already. And you will see Muski, a child who is shown in the film, who is brought up in a rubbish tip in Kenya. And you will see Letty, who is bringing up a whole family as a child because there is no mother or father in that family, and she's taking the responsibility herself. But you will see hope because of what Mary's Meals is able to do. And the greatest thing that Mary's Meals is providing to a whole generation of people throughout Africa and now Asia, and indeed in Latin America and throughout the world, is we are not just providing food where there is no food. We are not just providing work where there is no work. We're not just providing through Mary's Meals a marketplace for agricultural produce which is changing these communities where there has been no marketplace before. As I said at the beginning, you are providing, what you are doing is providing hope where there is no hope, and that is going to change the world. Please enjoy, and then be inspired by, and then be moved to action by Child 31. Thank you very much.